Hey you guys, welcome back for another cupcake creation. So we are sticking with the holiday Christmas theme and we are creating candy cane cupcakes today, which we're keeping the cupcakes pretty simple this time because I wanted to try to do something a little bit more creative with how the cupcakes are displayed. So I'm actually going to be using boxed cake mix this time, which there's nothing wrong with using boxed cake mix. Plus it was on sale 10 for 10, so you might as well just get the boxed cake mix. But my idea here is to attempt to kind of make like a North Pole candy cane thing. I'll put a picture here so you know what I'm talking about because I'm really bad at describing this. But essentially it would be like, you know, the red, white, white, and then, you know, the light on the top with the dome, and, you know, it's the North Pole, but it's made of cupcakes. So that's what we're gonna attempt to do today. Hence why we're keeping the cupcakes a little bit more simple, because that part of it is a little bit more extreme. So we are gonna get right into baking the cupcakes and then we will go from there. Okay, so we are starting off with cupcakes, and like I said in the intro, I'm just going to be using a boxed cake batter mix for this one, and I'm going to be using the white cake mix because my idea for this is that the cupcakes will stay white. Actually, I wanted to do two different batters, a white batter and a red batter, and try different things to try to make it feel like a candy cane inside the cupcake, even though it's just a simple vanilla cupcake. So we are going to be attempting to dye the cupcake batter red and keep it white as well, in the hopes that we can get some candy cane vibes from the cupcakes. So if you want, use cupcake mix. It just makes it simple because then I don't have to get out the flour and the sugar and mix it all together, and I can just add water, vegetable oil, and eggs, and then we are good to go. So I'm gonna whip that together really quick and then we will reconvene for the dyeing of the batter. All right, you guys, it's time to dye the batters. So I'm not gonna do a ton of red batter because I am kind of concerned about it changing the flavor of the batter. I've had experiences before with like red or pink or darker colored frosting or batter can affect the flavor of the cupcake, and I don't want to do that. I just want it to look like a candy cane. So I picked up these gel food coloring, which is different. I'm used to using just the drops, but the gel food coloring is supposed to prevent your batter and frosting from thinning at all. So I am just gonna go in with the red and see how it turns out. So the color of the batter did not turn out quite as I hoped, and I realized as I was filming that it kind of looks like an orangey, like salmon-esque color on the camera, but it's actually more of a pink, like a darker shaded pink. And I know I've read before, I've done like fake blood, like Halloween type of cupcake decorations before, and they always recommend adding in blue to give it that darker, richer red color versus a pink. But I was kind of afraid that my batter was gonna become purple, so I opted to just stick with the red and let it become pink in the hopes that maybe when it bakes, it'll darken up a shade. If not, we might just end up with white and pink cupcakes, but you kind of get the gist there. So hopefully it'll turn out okay. So what I'm gonna do with my batter is I wanted to try two different options, I guess you could say. I wanted to attempt to layer my batter in the hopes that maybe it would bake as like red, white, red, white, red, white. Don't know if we're gonna get that lucky, but I figured we might as well give it a shot. And then I wanted to try to do swirls, which I've also never attempted before. So we'll see if either of these turn out or if it's just like a big blobby mess. Part of my concern with the swirls is that if I swirl too much, then the food dye might start dyeing into the white and then it won't have like a definitive line and it'll just become this like light pink blob. So here's to hoping that we get the kind of cupcake that we are attempting to create here. So while we are waiting for the cupcakes to cool, I'm gonna work on the buttercream frosting, which I'm actually using the same candy cane buttercream frosting from last week for this week. I had quite a bit left over, so I figured I might as well just save it and use it for this week. The only problem is that since I had put fresh candy canes in there and it's been sitting in the fridge, the buttercream has turned a bit pink. And I was really hoping that the buttercream would be white because we put the cupcakes in red cupcake liners. And when I stacked them, I had hoped that we would have distinct color differences in the buttercream and the cupcake liner. So it'd be like the red cupcake liner, white frosting, red cupcake liner frosting. So you would really get that candy cane, North Pole kind of effect. But unfortunately, I don't think that's what we're gonna get. So I'm just going to freshen up this buttercream, give it a quick mix, add in a few more candy canes, maybe add a little bit of milk to soften it up so that we can actually pipe it, and then put it on the cupcakes. So a step that I forgot to mention was I actually poked holes in the cupcakes because we are putting them on the stick. So my hope is that it'll just make it easier putting it on and then I won't get like a lot of like cakey pieces left over on the actual stick that we're putting them on. So all I did was just took a knife in the bottom to rip an opening in the cupcake liner and then I actually just put the stick right through. So that it also gives me a guide when I do the buttercream so that I can buttercream kind of around the hole instead of like a normal like frosting buttercream technique. It's gonna look so awkward because it's not going to be like a normal frosting. It's basically just gonna be like, think of like a donut. It's gonna be like a little like donut of buttercream frosting, but that's so that we can get the effect, hopefully, of the North Pole. So we have our cupcakes frosted and we are ready to put them on our North Pole stand, which I made it very badly. I think you guys can tell it's very crooked. I tried to glue it back straight. It was just really bad drilling on my part. I just drilled it at an angle instead of straight up and down. So I'm hoping that we can kind of keep it straight maybe with the cupcakes or something like that. But all I did, super simple. I ordered these discs off of Amazon and it came in like a pack of like a lot, 24, 20, something like that. I glued two of them together for the top and the bottom and then painted them both white. And then I just put some hot glue on the bottom to glue it in place. Well, I also drilled a 1/4" hole because I have a 1/4" dowel rod that I got from Home Depot. Hot glued it in place, and then the idea is that we'll just stack one cupcake onto another, and then once we get to the top, we will put the top disc on, and then that'll give us kind of like the actual pole effect. And then I picked up this nightlight. It's actually a nightlight, or I've also saw that they advertise is that you put it underneath like your cabinets in your kitchen or whatever, and you can have a nice light. But I thought it was a perfect size and shape. I was hoping for more of like a dome up here. I was hoping that this top light would be really domed, but it wasn't. So instead, I actually took one of these, which we used to use for bath bombs, because back in the beginning of quarantine, we went in a bath bomb phase where we were making bath bombs at home. So I figured it would go on top and it would give it more of like that dome effect that you see on top of the North Pole, so that like all together it's just this dome, and then this also has the hole in it so it can just sit right top. That is the goal. And then it's just a battery light too, which is great because it would be quite difficult to try to keep this all plugged in, but then it just sits on top and you have a North Pole. Also, now that I look at it, it kind of looks like an alien ship. So I guess maybe we can like reuse this later on and do like a fun alien ship or something. But that is the stand. Now it's moment of truth of attempting to stack the cupcakes on. I also had a thought, so I originally was gonna use washers. So like put a cupcake on, put a washer, glue it, put a cupcake, so that the cupcake would sit on the washer and not on the other cupcakes, because I am concerned about them holding their structure as we go higher. But then I was feeling lazy and I didn't feel like wasting washers or hot glue, so I just figured I would just stack them up and hope for the best. So we are gonna do that now, and if it starts to collapse or lean or anything like that, then maybe we'll try to do the washers. But this also is like more of a realistic option if like you wanted to do this at a party or something, because obviously if there's washers glued in between, how are you gonna get the cupcakes off to eat them? Whereas this, when they're just stacked one on top of each other, all you have to do would like be like take the top off and then people can just grab. So that is the current game plan. Let's see if it turns out okay. Well guys, I think I can confidently say that our North Pole did not turn out how I had hoped. Not necessarily because of the way it like stacked up. I think that worked well. My pole definitely could have been straighter, and the light, I think the light was perfect, but the colors on the cupcakes were not right. So I definitely think this is something I would try again, but if I would do it maybe a little bit differently. So I would either stick with the peppermint frosting and dye it red and then use white cupcake liners, or I would stick with the red cupcake liners and then just use peppermint extract instead of actual candy canes in the frosting, so that it can stay the nice white color. And then of course, we've already talked about how the batter is just not quite the right color. So I would definitely go in and add in the blue, mix it up, you know, do a little bit of experiencing, maybe in a smaller batch first, because I was definitely worried about ruining my batter, wasting it, all of that good stuff. So doing a really tiny batch first to get the color right, and then adding that in and kind of making it work to make it more of that rich red color. Because right now I feel like I'm looking at like a weird Valentine's Day-esque thing. It doesn't really make sense, but we tried. So the last step is cutting into these cupcakes to see if our layers turned out okay and or our swirl turned out okay. we just cut into the cupcakes, and I think we can both agree that the swirl was slightly better, but at the end of the day, they were both pretty much a fail. I'll need to do more research, do some more testing, because I really think those layers could work. Maybe if I would have made the batter from scratch and I had a bit of a thicker batter to begin with, because this batter did turn out a bit more thin, especially for a vanilla cupcake, than I was anticipating. I also struggled that a lot of the cupcakes really domed up, and I was really kind of hoping for like a flat cupcake, especially on the North Pole feature of it, just to help keep it steady and hopefully more straight as it went up. But the swirl looked kind of great on the top. It just didn't go all the way through, and maybe that's something where I need to like just do a little bit, add it in, swirl it, add a little bit more, swirl it, and I just need to take more time doing it. The layers, I honestly don't even know if that would ever work, because it seemed like I cut into a couple more, and it seemed like the red kind of went on the outsides and the white stayed on the inside instead of like layering up how we had hoped. So something for us to try again in the future, but as of today, at least the cupcakes taste good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Cupcake Engineer. If you also think this was a fail, or you have any ideas or tips, leave them in the comments. And I hope you guys are enjoying these holiday cupcake treats. I will be sticking with that theme for next week for our last holiday cupcake of the season. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss out. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Bye.